Welcome up, everybody. Tonight is the second round, or was the second round, of the Tuesday Swiss. I don't know, for some reason I kept thinking October Swiss, but it's April. Those of you that watch my vids, or at least saw the previous one, know that I completely screwed the pooch against Eric Vickers. That and the game against Camille will definitely go down as my worst performances. I was up a clear piece after Vickers just totally blundered, played badly the opening, and then I really struggled to convert. I kind of got myself dug a deeper and deeper hole. He got this crazy attack. I didn't respect it, and then I found myself just lost out of the blue. And then I basically blundered a tactic. I did come back. The sequences I ran, Thursday club night this past Thursday, I ended up drawing Ben in a game where I was winning for a lot of it. But that still gave me some points, and it also gave me a little bit of confidence because I really was down thinking I really suck. Tonight I was supposed to play somebody that I haven't played before. And then, let me double check this. Actually, if I show you the spoiler, you guys will get spoiled, so I don't want to do that. Anyway, it doesn't matter, I didn't play him. But I was supposed to play the black pieces. Lo and behold, I showed up, and they changed, they swapped, they swap. And it turns out I'm playing the white pieces against Andrew Barber. This is great, as... I know I say this about basically everyone, but it's because the truth is I genuinely like everyone at the club. They're really nice people. But Barber especially is a very friendly guy. He plays a lot of the weekend tournaments, and although I haven't played that many of them, anytime I do go there, I seem to have a good time with him because there's like a lot like kids there, and then there's like us. Obviously Barber's younger than me, but he's clearly not a kid. So we kind of like enjoy a chuckle about that. Anyway, way back, I'm struggling to remember when we even played. Barber was winning against me. He had a better position, like a +2, and he agreed to a draw when he was lower on time, and it was kind of a tricky position, but I kind of I waggled my way out of that one, kind of lucky. And ever since that game, I'm not really. I'm maybe doing a little bit more theatrical for the memes. But anyone who I have never beaten or have not beaten, I always want to play them again to get revenge. And so lo and behold, I was going to get revenge on the Barbs. Now, the truth is, I didn't look at any of my white openings, and I prepared my black openings because I wanted to make sure I was brushed up because I wasn't sure what my opponent was going to play. And then I got swapped. And right before the game started, Barbs was like, hey, I guess you're going to be whipping off that Joe Bava. Now I wonder if I played the Joe Bava against him last. I will have to look into that. But I then made a decision at the board, and this is the first time I've done this. This is also why I'm pretty happy I'm actually able to play a few different openings. Is I was going to play the Joe Bava, and I played D4, he plays D5, and then I said to myself, no, I'm not going to play the Joe Bava. Now, online, my rating has stalled a bit with the Joe Bava. My white, I haven't been as good. I do think the D4, C4 suited my style, and maybe I knew it better, and I was a little bit stronger. I think my whole Joe Bava stuff, as far as all the tactical ideas, has really been imprinted strongly in my mind, and it's opened up my playing style, but I also don't think I'm doing great in it. So I said, no, I'm going to play D4, C4, and I'm going to get a Queen's Gambit declined. Or so I thought. And then the Barb surprises me and he plays the Queen's Gambit accepted, and I thought to myself, this is funny. Because the thing about the QGD is you don't really need to know that much theory, mostly in the sense that you need to know the ideas of the position, but because it's like a lot of the stuff is it's like kind of the slower opening, as long as you know like the concepts, how you want to achieve that, you can kind of like positionally route your pieces. I was ready to play a plotting game against Barbs. He shocks me when he plays the QGA, which is much sharper, and you have to know more of the theory. I last looked at QGA stuff literally months ago, so when he played this, part of me was like, yes, this is exciting. I really like playing the Queen's Gambit except as white. But part of me was also like, oh shit, I completely forgot my theory. I'm going to have to really like wing it. Also, about playing style, I try to do this before every opponent. Barbs and I played that one other time. We drew where I had a worse position. My take on him, and I haven't there's very few players that I've like examined their games. There's a few people who I know because we played them a lot. I know their style quite well, like Justin or Jamie. But with the Barbs, I feel like every time I ask him how he does, he like always draws. And my take on him, especially from the game that I played, is that he's a bit passive, but very resourceful. And what that means is games against him, against that phenotype, if you will, are going to be kind of grinds. Which is, by the way, another reason why I decided to go into the Queen's Gambit decline, because I thought to myself, I would get kind of a grindy game anyway. He would probably play pretty defensively, and he would give me a lot of time to just slowly kind of like pick him apart. And I basically thought that was the type of game that I wanted tonight, actually. I wasn't feeling particularly tactical. I kind of wanted to just grind, where I basically would have basically never any jeopardy of losing. But instead he plays the Queen's Gambit Deception. And I had to remember, and I know that the old line, you play e3 immediately. I think in my notes, I actually like this move, knight c3. They're both fine. It doesn't really matter, but I'm just going to note that as far as what to do. Andrew is blitzing quite quickly. He knows, or at least it appeared as though he knew like what to do, how to play it. And he plays e5. And as soon as this happens, I remembered a position where... By the way, I take, obviously bishop takes and c4 is obvious, so not here, excuse me. But rather, after I take, now he plays e takes d4. And this is where I started doing a long think. And I'm not kidding, I spent 12 minutes, so we blitzed the first 4. I felt like not an idiot, but I felt silly. Normally I know my opening so well, but after just 4 moves, I was in the tank. Part of it is because I was trying to remember my training. Part of it was because this looked really spicy, and I had a few ideas. I'm going to just show you, I played what I thought was a very good move. The typical move, and like he said, he said he expected me to just go ED, you basically take the pawn, and you have what's known as an isolated queen's pawn. The reason why is, this is a queen's pawn, it's ahead of the queen, and it's isolated. There's no supporting pawns nearby, so it's all on its lonesome. And the idea is this, because we now have like, these lines, like these diagonals, these open lines, because all the minor pieces on, all right, hopefully I'm not this tongue-tied throughout the entire video. Because there are all the pieces on the board, in those situations, isolated not just queen spots, but isolated pawns tend to benefit the side when you have a lot of material. When you don't have a lot of material, they tend to be a weakness because it's easy to blockade them and gang up on them. So the idea is basically white generates some initiative and some power, black is trying to blockade and then attack and kill off the isolated pawn, and you play that type of game. That is what he expected me to go into. I think that's totally fine. But in this position, I thought that there were a lot of moves, and I remember that there is some kind of bishop sacrifice to win the queen. It ends up, we double-checked my notes after the game. Barber, it was nice. We had a good breakdown post-mortem. And then I said, hey, bear with me. I need to double-check my notes because I haven't studied this in a while, and I know I have something in here. And I do, where there is a trap where basically, and I think what I'm supposed to do actually is and this is one of the moves I can start. I think I'm supposed to play knight f3 because I'm pretty sure if they play DE, you have this move, bishop takes on f7, and the idea, obviously, he can't take because then he loses his queen, and I think it forces black's queen up. And I think in this position it's already quite dirty, but I'm struggling to think if there's like the actual like way to win the queen here. Queen b3 and queen b3 here. Aha! I mixed up my move ordering. That's what it is. Hopefully you guys can see this, but queen b3 in this position is winning. Yeah, I'll let it load for a second. My computer seems to be very slow at the moment. But obviously black is completely screwed here. It doesn't matter if they win another pawn. The point is, you play the queen now to b3. Your bishop is defended, and black is basically lost out of the opening. Just to show you guys, so you guys can see, because I remembered some idea like this, and I didn't quite execute it. But look at this position, bro. You know what I mean? Like, this just seems horrible. Black's king's in the middle of the board. All these pieces are coming in. You know what I mean? Like, this is looking rough. In fact, computer's best move is knight h6 to try to just get this piece out of here. For the record, we are threatening to just win the knight immediately as well. All right. I knew it was something like this. All right, whatever. That didn't happen. So anyway, in this position, just so you guys can tell, most people assume e takes, and I know that this position, the QGA, is ripe with tactics. My candidate moves were knight f3 right here, because I remember thinking that he can't actually go pawn takes, and that means that if I was to play, again, knight f3, again, I don't think he can take, so let's just say he makes a developing move, something like this. Actually, let's say he makes a developing move like this. Now I'd be able to go knight takes d4, and I would still have solid pawns. And like, this would just be a position. I have some activity. I'm sure white is like slightly better in those positions. Anyway, so I considered knight f3. I considered queen f3, but I thought the problem with queen f3 in this position is it's so natural for knight f6 to be played. Certainly you guys can see the mate threat, but this develops and defends it, and I still kind of have the problem, over here. By the way, I feel like I can always take, because I don't think my opponent could ever play queen takes d4. Although in this position, maybe they can, because I'm not actually threatening to develop the bishop to e3, because then the b2 pawn falls and probably the rook. So maybe it's not here. I mean, maybe you end up having to check them, takes, and this ends up being a pawn sacrifice. I don't know. Anyway, the point is, as you guys can tell, when I don't remember my exact theory, I end up spending 12 minutes in this position because I think it's pretty interesting. And I wish I remembered it's knight f3 and then queen b3. But finally I play queen b3, and the reason why is I calculate queen b3. I'm obviously hammering this pawn. If he ever goes pawn takes pawn, I take the pawn check, I dislodge his king, he loses all castling rights, and then I'm able to develop the dark square bish. And I just have I'm just super winning. So I think he has to defend the f7 pawn. I feel like if I play queen b3, he can't push, because then he loses his knight. I would just take it, which means he has to defend it. So I saw that he has this knight h6 idea, and then I thought I was threatening to go pawn takes pawn, because then my bishop would be opening up on his knight, and then after pawn takes, he would have horrible pawn structure, and I'd have easy play with just trying to castle, especially if he ever tries to take the pawn back. I can just develop the knight with tempo. Basically, the whole idea is a lot of tempo. So it meant if I play queen b3 and I think this move doesn't work, I then looked at, does bishop e6 work? And I decided no, because I could go takes. And if he ever tries to throw in an intermitsu, like takes to get me out, it doesn't work, because then I take with check on f7. So which means he'd have to take the pawn, and then I would go queen takes, and he'd have to block. And I thought that if I end up with my queen there and he loses these pawns, with my queen in the middle, I can always bail out with just queen takes queen, and then he basically probably would develop the knight. And then I would be able to win the pawn, and I'd be up a clear pawn in an endgame in a very simple position. So I liked that position. So I thought that if I play queen b3 and pawn takes pawn doesn't work, and knight h6 doesn't work, and bishop e6 doesn't work, it means the only two moves I saw were queen d7 and queen e7. I'm going to be honest, I could not tell for the life of me which move is better. After this game, this is very highly unusual for me. I almost have never done this, but Andrew and I went over it, and then we went over the game with a computer, or at least made on my phone, so it's kind of a weak computer. But we were kind of curious, and apparently, according to the computer, queen e7 is significantly better. I don't know why. To me, I thought they were very, very identical. But anyway, let's continue on with the game. The point is, I spent a long time in this position, and as you guys can tell, it seemed to be rife with tactics, and I was getting very excited about my attacking chances. So I played queen b3. Andrew was visibly shaken, and he responded by taking 10 minutes to respond to this move. And I can't blame him. I think already black is very uncomfortable. He ends up playing queen d7, which has blocked the bishop, so maybe that is why. And what he told me after the game is he knew that he was going to be blocking one of these bishops, and he thought it was more important to get the dark square bishop out so he could castle. And I actually agree with his logic. Like, it makes sense to me. So maybe somebody stronger than me can explain why if they think they know why queen d7 is a bad move and queen e7 is a good move. Then I would appreciate it. Anyway, doesn't matter. When he played this, I thought this was kind of forced, and my whole plan, I blitz out. My next move is now I play knight f3. Again, you guys could tell that if I switched the orders, it probably would have been better for me. But hopefully you guys see what I'm threatening. I couldn't care less about this pawn. If he plays pawn takes, I probably would get the bishop out. But my real threat is to go knight e5, and as you guys can tell, with the pawn still very much on e3, I'd be attacking the queen. Oh, maybe that's why. That's got to be why it's better to put the queen on e7, because it completely kills the idea of knight f3 to knight e5, because in that line the queen is safe. Whereas in this line, I am threatening to play it where I'm hitting the queen and I'm hitting the f7 square, where then I'd be able to play bishop takes pawn. Interesting. Or even actually, maybe even knight takes pawn's better, because then I win a rook. But I'm looking for the kill here. Anyway, when I played the knight here, I thought the only move was knight c6, because that's the only move that stops me from playing knight e5. Again, you can't play f6 in this position, because then I just win a piece, so that's why that's the only move that stops it. Although, funny enough, I guess you could still move the queen over, and then you're stopping the knight there. But, I don't know. That would be a loss of a tempi, and I think that's a very important tempi at this point in the game. So, whatever. All right. I play knight f3. Andrew retaliates. He spends 4 minutes, and he plays knight d6. And on my turn, I was torn, and I spent another 10 minutes on this move. I really was... I mean, it's very unusual for me to spend this long in the opening, mostly because I know my openings well, but just because I was out of theory of the queen QGA, and I'm excited that he played it, and so it was kind of very fresh for me, anyway. In any event, when we get knight c6, it's worth pointing out that this does stop me from blitzing my knight in, and I am now kind of doing this long thing. And the reason I spent 10 minutes in this position is it's clear to me that what Andrew wants is he wants knight a5. Now, why does he want knight a5? Well, it becomes a fork where he gets to trade the knight for the bishop. More importantly, this light square bishop is so strong. It's such a thorn in his side that if he can trade this piece for the super active monster bishop, then then he's basically then I have no more initiative, right? Like it just becomes a plotting game. So kind of like it makes the game more peaceful for him. So given he wants knight a5, my initial reaction was to play bishop c2. And at first I thought, okay, bishop c2 stops that. But then I said, wait, but then he can now play de. And if my idea was to play bishop e3, which I do think is a good move, then I've wasted a tempi. And he can then basically play the knight there and force these pieces off. So I said, I don't really like that. So then I started thinking, well, what else can I do? I said, can I repin the knight? Well, maybe, and I thought if I played bishop b5, he can literally just play a6, and I have to move the piece again. And again, opening 101, you rarely want to move the same piece twice. And I thought it's so easy for him to counter with just a6 that I don't really like that. I thought of a clever, like, does queen b5 work? And I said, not really. He can still bounce me. It's not like I'm going anywhere along this, along the 5th row. So I kind of nullified those. I considered castling, just kind of playing it safe with the idea of castles, knight a5, I would move the queen, he would trade, I would take back. And if he ever takes, again, it's a pawn sack where I would take with having the rook on f1. I think that's a really troubling pawn for him to take because I would have this open file. And I'd have fast development. I thought that was so comfortable for me. But then I finally found what I thought was the best move, and and it's what I played. And I'm hopefully walking through my thought process because I spent a long time on this. I played knight takes d4. The reason why I played knight takes d4, by the way, he ends up going knight a5, is I thought that if he plays, knight takes, which I thought actually, when I looked at everything, I thought this was his best move, by the way. I was going to go pawn takes. I don't think that he can go queen takes pawn because I'm still threatening this pawn. So this pawn is indirectly defended, which means he probably has to make a developing move, something like knight f6. And I thought here I could just castle. And again, like, he probably should play bishop e7. Otherwise, I'm going to play the rook e1 with tempo and move it back. So let's say he plays... Oh, and by the way, he can't play this move. Right. Because here I am, once again, threatening the pawn. So I think that like this is preventing him from castling. Hopefully you guys see that. So for example, if he plays a move like bishop d6, once again, I can go rook e1 check. And if he moves back, he loses the pawn. He doesn't have the defender because his own piece is blocking it. So he'd have to do something like, king f8, and I think that this is a horrible position for him because his rook is forever in jail. I still have this battery, and I own the e file. So I thought all that was like pretty good. In other words, like he really can't take the pawn. I did think that maybe knight takes is better, and then again after e takes, if he can't take the pawn, I'm threatening here. He has to develop, and I think I could just seal him out, and I thought that was good. But I also found, assuming that he was going to play this, what I thought was really, really strong. So by the way, that's why I played knight takes. And the reason why is because I was welcoming knight a5, and I just ran through the tactics for... looks like I spent another 7 minutes because I just really wanted to make sure it worked, is I found bishop takes pawn on f7. Now, what's funny is Andrew and I ran this through the computer, and white is only like plus 0.2, which shocked the hell out of both of us. We both thought that after bishop takes pawn, white is just like kicking black's ass here. But it's just not the case, somehow. Again, had we not looked at this with the computer, I'd be entering this recap saying, find the brilliant, find where I start crushing Barber. But yeah, according to the computer, it's like barely better for me. What I had to calculate, and again, I played bishop takes, is I figured if he plays something like, king d8 to just get away, well, then he's, I can't take this knight because my queen is en prise, but I could just then simply move, again, bishop takes on f7, king d8, I would play queen d5, and with the queens staring at one another, we would, and I'm also attacking the queen, he would most likely go queen takes, I would go bishop takes, his knight would be on the rim, kind of dim, he would have lost castling rights, and I'd be up a clear pawn. I would say in those situations, it's harder for an opening to go any better than that. So I thought that moving the king wasn't an option. So I thought bishop takes, queen takes, and then I saw bishop check on b5, again checking the king here. If he moves, then I just gobble up the knight, which means I had to calculate a move like knight c6. Again, if he plays c6, I still just gobble the knight. And then I saw in that line, this is I don't want to pat myself on the back too much, but the genius or the planning ahead of why I played knight takes d4 is I saw I could go knight takes on c6. The reason why I spent more time is I had to then make sure that this pin, bishop d7, because now the queen, remember, would be on f7, doesn't work. And I saw in all those lines I'd be able to go queen e5 check, and then if he blocks the queen, I could just trade. If he blocks something else, then I could just literally jump with my knight back, and I would have had centralized the queen, he'd have all this pressure, and I'd be up with the pawn. So all that looked good to me. I didn't see a refutation of it, so I play it. And when this happens, the Barbs does, and again, it's crazy. Us knowing now that the computer evaluation is white is barely better. That's why, again, if you're playing and somebody's don't worry, it's not that bad, that would be very, I would love if somebody was able to tap me on the shoulder and tell me that. Because there are a lot of times where I'm like, holy shit, am I lost here? And at the board on move 8, that's kind of the morale, or the way it felt, where I found this move, and both of us were like, wow, white is much better. Anyway, after about 5 minutes, Barber I don't think uses his time that well. I was lower at first because I spent a lot of time in the opening. Those two long thinks. I got down to an hour very quickly. I then picked up the pace pretty quickly after that. But yeah, I think this is an only move, and I think when you have an only move, you kind of have to play it faster, because then when you have a situation where there's not only moves, you need to spend more time on those. Anyway, he goes queen takes. I follow through the plan. I go queen b5 check. For the record, I wasn't sure if he was going to play c6. I told him I thought that was the best move. Apparently, according to the computer, both these moves are great, and the computer wants him to just give up the knight. That's what he does. He plays bishop d7. I collect my knight. It's worth pointing out I am attacking another pawn. And yeah, white is just better here. Again, according to the computer, barely better, but both he and I did not know that. In response, I think this is a clever move. Now, if I was playing as black, I would play bishop d6 here. Why? Well, it's obvious to me. I'd want to develop these minor pieces. I want to get them in the game, and I'd want to anchor down the c-pawn. But I think Andrew finds a better move than that. He plays queen c4. And the reason why this is strong-ish is that he's threatening, it's not quite checkmate, but if I ignore this threat and I don't check him, he can play queen takes bishop, and then he checks, and he also wins the rook. And, immediately he's basically winning. Because he checks me, I can only go here. He'd even check me again, I'd have to, go here. I don't know, it would be, and then he would win this rook. It would be terrible for me. But he's also cutting me off, so I'm not able to castle. And when I drew all this up, and I kind of, in my mind got this far, I assumed that he would basically make some sort of developing move, I would castle, and I would just be up a clear pawn in a middle game where I have, a small edge in developing still, and he still has issues castling. Here, he's at least fighting fire with fire, and it's not completely clear and obvious what I should do yet. But I saw, funny ideas. I knew I always have this move, knight d2. Just to be clear, it attacks the queen. It also means my rook would then be defending my bish. My hope was that I was basically going to be able to move him off of the light square diagonal. The reason why I don't do it here, for the record, is knight d2. I saw he could actually inch into d3. I didn't know if it was good or not, but it basically meant I still couldn't castle. So instead, I went for this line. I check him on h5. And when I saw this, I didn't think he could play g6 because I saw I have queen e5 check. The geometry is hitting the rook as well as the king. And by the way, this is what ends up happening. This is why I didn't think he could do it. He could play, I could like intermezzo, knight d2. And again, this is all what happened. So I do think g6 was a significant mistake. What I calculated was, again, I'm just trying to prevent him from castling, basically keeping his king in the middle of the board. I calculated, again, he ends up playing g6, which I do think is a blunder. But I thought his only move was basically king d8. After the game, he told me that he actually should have played this and was thinking about playing queen f7. I agree with him. The truth is, what I would have done here is I would have traded, takes, and now I can castle, obviously. And had we gotten this position, I'm up a clear pawn, the queens are off, but it's like simple to play, where he still has garbage development. The fact that his king is in the middle of the board is not so bad. And yeah, the computer has this as just like a clear +1. They want me to go like knight... They want me to go knight f6? Oh, it's his move, knight f6. Okay, that makes more sense. I'm like, what? That doesn't make any sense. All right. Yeah, and his goal is basically to develop, and I would develop. And, I mean, it's hard not to like this. Again, I wanted to play this type of position against Andrew, where I would just be grinding. No fear, no worries, and I do think he probably should have bailed out into something like this. But again, when I had calculated, for some reason I thought that he had to go king d8. And in this position, I liked it, because then his rook is basically not getting in the middle of the board, not kind of like opening any lines, anything going. I would have killed his ability to castle. And then here I would have played knight d2. With the idea that the only, if he wants to kind of keep me from castling, he's going to spend more tempos, or tempies, moving his queen. Then I would think I was going to actually just drop my queen, force them off, and then if he goes like trade, I would have a centralized king in an endgame where his rooks are blocked in, I still have the development edge, and I have a clear pawn. I was honestly going to go something like this. Maybe I should have looked to more actively keep the queens on because I was attacking him. But anyway, doesn't matter. He plays g6. As I mentioned, I kind of saw this. I do, at this point, I blitz the next, it looks like from after move 8 to move 14, I play quite quickly. I spend on 6 moves, I spend less than 5 minutes because I did see all this. And this is the point where Andrew now passes me in time use. So after queen h5 check, g6, this is where he gets down lower on time. In fact, on move 13, he's already spent half of his time bank, if you will. Anyway, I check. Again, the geometry should be clear. He can't move now. The truth is, if he blocks and I'm stupid and I take the rook, then he can take my bishop and I'm like lost. But the key here is once I check him, he then played on move 12, knight e7. Now I have to throw in the knight d2, and I do. And I didn't see the move he played 5 moves ago when I planned all this stuff. I thought that he was lost. But then we arrived at the scene, in this position. Andrew spends about 10 minutes, and he and I both found, he played the best move, I think. I think it's the only move that keeps him in contention, and it's a sad move to play, but he plays queen g8. And the reason why this is the best move is now I'm not attacking the queen with the knight, and now the queen defends the rook. It's sad because look at where all of his pieces are. I told him that the move I was afraid of him playing, and we both looked at this up on the computer, and like white is obviously now much better, but and the move he played is better than this move, but it was the move I was afraid of, would be queen a6. And it sounds insane for me to say I was afraid of this move because it's sacking the rook. Sucking the rook! But I thought that if I take the rook, and I would have definitely taken the rook, now he's castling, and maybe I can bust out, just start taking pawns. But I thought that his queen is doing a good job of preventing me from castling. His rook is now in the open file in the middle of the board. I have some threat with like having to use more moves on my queen. these pieces aren't in the game. I don't know. In Blitz, I think this would be practically the right decision because my king is still stuck in the middle. This would give him practical chances. But in Classical, this I probably would have been able to untangle this position, no problem. But that's this. I did tell him this is down to the position I was afraid of. And when I say afraid, let me be very clear here. I thought I was winning, but I thought that this would give him the best puncher's chance of like making something happen. I mean, hell, he can maybe even flail out like c5, dislodge my knight, and I don't know, like crazier stuff has happened. He still has a lot of pieces in the middle of the board, and again, this rook and this rook would be completely absent from the game. But he played the best computer move. Based what I mean is the computer rates this is the best move, and again, I think it is the best move. But the problem with Queen G8, and I don't spend that long here. Like I do a blunder check. Looks like I spend 3 minutes. So now I'm finally. Again, after blitzing the last like 5 or 6 moves, I spend 3 minutes. And my thought is either queen takes pawn. It's worth noting that I like that because it's going to prevent him from castling. Or I was thinking I would just castle. But the reason I didn't like castling here is I thought for the record, I just take the pawn. I mean, I've got to. But I thought if I castle and I let him castle, he's still getting counterplay. And I only am up a pawn for it. And I'm going to be honest, like, I thought if we arrived at this position, yeah, okay, the computer still has me as, like, solidly, like, plus 0.7. But I thought this is, like, very much a game. Maybe I've got moves like knight b5. Do I like that? It's the second best move. They also like b3. b3 makes sense. You're trying to get the bishop immediately on this long diagonal. I think I would have found something like that. I actually probably would have played knight b5, which, again, puts an immediate mate threat on the board. It's kind of an annoying one for him to deal with. And then he basically goes bishop takes, and then I'm assuming queen takes. All right. Well, in any event, yeah. So what would have happened if I go knight b5? Because I think this is what I would play. He would have to go bishop takes on b5, and then I would go queen takes on b5. And if we arrived at this position, the computer says the way black should continue the game, and it's like, I wouldn't say fine for black. White is better, but it's anyone's game. Is you basically go queen d5, offer the trade, and computer is basically arguing that black has more activity. They're going to have a pretty sick diagonal, and white has some issues getting their pieces into the game. Like the bishop right now is defending the knight because it's under attack by the rook, and white is only up a pawn. So yeah, all right, that makes total logical sense to me. In any event, that doesn't happen. I look at this, I consider that, I say, no, I don't see any reason not to take the pawn. I try to see if there's any, basically I do any blunder checks to make sure that my queen's not getting trapped. I calculate queen takes pawn, and I saw that if he has, knight d5, again, attacking my queen. First off, I always have the retreat. I thought I always had this, very, very juicy diagonal, or even this way, once again, kind of using the triangles. But I actually was going to keep gobbling pawns, because I thought that with this rook kind of all the way lonely on a8, I could always make threats against it. And the beautiful thing about such a strong knight on d4 is I thought if I ever play queen takes pawn, and he then plays something like bishop c6, I can always just take it. I could snap it off. And then, yes, he can then get the knight back in, but then, boom, I can recheck him. I can either pin the bishop or whatever. And I thought that I was doing great because I was up 2 clear pawns. So I take it. And, yeah, I mean, at this point, I am up 2 pawns, but black is going to get a little bit of counterplay, a little bit of initiative, yeah, so it's a matter of me converting. After queen takes c7, it's funny, Barber goes back, queen d5. He's moved his queen a lot this game. In fact, this is his queen, let's see, d5. This is the 14th move of the game, and he's moved the queen on move 5, on move 8, on move 10, on move 13, and now move 14. He's literally moved his queen 5 times. I'm going to say, I feel like that's probably a good thing for me. You know what I mean? That's probably a good thing. He's moved his queen a bit too much. Although I do think that this move does something, right? Like, he's doing this because he's protecting the b pawn, he's attacking my g pawn, and he's centralizing the queen. Like, I'm making a funny, in the sense that he's moving his queen a lot, but I also thought this was a good move. I thought there were really only 2 moves in this position: castles or knight d to f3. I play knight d to f3, thinking that I want to connect the knights. This is such a powerhouse that if he ever goes like the bishop, I want to be able to put a new one, a fresh one on d4. The knight here also is blocking him from attacking the g-pawn, so I'm indirectly defending it. And I also thought that it might be slow to go b3, bishop b2. So another way to develop, I thought I could go bishop d2. Again, it's worth noting that I'm always defending against any of these checks. First off, my queen is defending on a5. But because if I move the knight, I now have the d2 square for the dark square bishop. And I thought that was fairly important. For the record, long term, I was looking at bishop d2 to c3, gunning down on his rook in the corner. In the corner! All right, anyway, I was pretty happy with how the game was going at this point. I'm down to about 55 minutes. Barber's down to a little less than 40. And now he does play what I thought was the best move. I thought this was the only move, bishop g7. He has got long-term pressure. He actually, funny enough, can still castle. He made a comment that he was like looking through his notes at this point. He's like, I'm just double-checking if I can castle. And I think I said, yeah, but I don't know if you've noticed. I'm trying to make it so you can't. I said, but yeah, sadly, you can castle. Because if he didn't play this move, bishop g7, I was going to try to find a way to plant my queen on e5 with the idea that if he then like trades, like if he doesn't trade, I'm obviously bearing down on his position, again, trying to prevent him from castling, but also trying to centralize the other knight. That was kind of what I wanted. And at this point, up 2 pawns, I was trying to get queens off the board because I thought 1 pawn, Barber's really solid. I think I've mentioned this, that he's really good at drawing. I didn't love my chances up a pawn in an endgame. He's very good at those positions. But up 2 pawns, I was very, very confident. So I was trying to just get queens off. And this move is good, because now it's preventing my idea of bringing the queen to e5. So I was a little bit annoyed by that. However, once bishop g7 is played, castling was a candidate move last time. I don't see any reason why not. I say, all right, like this is the way to get my rook involved. My king is super safe. Yes, maybe he can use the f-file at some point, but these knights are so strong, both controlling all of these squares, but also in the middle of the board. I said this has got to be the right move. All right. In response, this is where again Barber asked me if he can castle. I said yes, you can. He castles, and it's funny. Out of the blue, he's down 2 pawns, but he actually does have like all these open lines. And like if he can like bring in the rook, which is what he will do soon, he actually has a lot more like, I mean, he can move the light square bishop to c6. I was always gonna snap it off with my knight, but if he ever has that, then he's got the sick battery with like mate threats. He has some sacrifice ideas. Like the position is rich. I'm clearly better up to 2 pawns, but I would say that it's hardly like easy or boring. Far from it. So, and apparently, by the way, pause it here. In the aftermath, I miss a game-winning move. If you guys can find it, the game ends. I didn't see it. I will admit, in this spot in the game, I spent less than a minute on my move, sadly. And we only figured this out once we, again, ran it really quickly through the computer. I played bishop d2. Apparently, it's the second best move in position. My idea, again, is I wanted to reroute it to c3. I wanted to over-support my knight on d4, and I also wanted to compete with the dueling bishops. I thought that was very important. I would be anchoring the pawn, and that's the only way to get my a-rook into the game. But apparently, and hopefully you guys have, I've alerted you all for a sick tactic, but the move e4 wins the game on the spot. How cool is this? If you guys can see, his queen, and I wasn't thinking tactically at this point, but I probably should have. His queen is the lone defender of the bishop, so if you can remove the queen, you win the piece. Obviously, he can't move up. I would just be able to take it. And this is such a badass knight that if he moves here, I take it. 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 The knight is dominating the queen here. If he tries to well, obviously if he trades, I still just take the queen. Yeah, and so anywhere he moves this queen after this, he loses the bishop. So for example, he goes queen takes e4, I would then just win a piece. And I think in this position, he and I both said, I'm also threatening to just immediately trade queens. That if I found that, the game would have ended on this. He would have resigned there. And again, the position would have been like +8 or something. Instead, I played the second best move, but I missed the win. And again, this is my idea. I'm just trying to get get my pieces into the game. It's funny. I had a developing edge at the beginning of the game, and now he is the one who has all of his pieces kind of active. and I'm like responding. But I have the material, so that's kind of the way it works. He plays rook a c8. I think it's the best move, and this is where I do a 6-minute think. My gut reaction, by the way, I'm very low on squares. I can't move here, I can't move here, I can't move here. Obviously can't move anywhere on this, on the C file, as his rook will, kill me. I can't move here because it'll die. I can't move here, it'll die. I can't move here, it'll die. I can't move here, it'll die. So the nice thing about this position is there's only 2 moves. There's queen g3 and there's queen a5. And I didn't see really anything else, like a counter threat. So, I mean, I'm spoiling you guys, I play queen a5. My original reaction was to play queen g3, but I calculated, again, the 6 minutes, I thought that he would be getting his pieces in with tempo. That I saw knight f5, he'd be attacking my queen, and he kind of forced me to play knight takes. And I thought in this position, maybe bishop takes is strong, maybe rook takes is strong, and just trying to basically build a big battery. Basically, just so you guys can see, he can go rook takes. He's now attacking this pawn. If I play bishop up, he can trade everything and just win back a pawn, which isn't great. And if he decides not even to do that, again, let's say I move forward, and he just double stacks. Let's say I trade. He's trying to, he actually has something here. Actually, maybe here I could play rook ad1. Maybe? Yeah, because here I'm threatening rook d4. All right, well, whatever. The point is, I didn't like queen g3 because I saw this move knight f5. I thought I was opening up his bishop. He might win a pawn back. He might be able to hit me on the second row if I have to dislodge my knight and waste another move moving it back. Whereas I saw the move I played, queen a5, obviously the queens are spying each other. If he just trades, I can trade. And by the way, Andrew does trade queens, which according to the computer is the best move. I thought that he should try to keep queens on. I thought he should play this move, rook c5. And this is what I was calculating. This is why I spent so long. Is I calculated what I thought was good. I don't know if this is good. Actually, I didn't test this one. When we quickly went over the game, we just went over the game. I didn't look at the variation. I saw queen b4 with the idea that I'm spying this knight. Let's say he moves it in response and gets it more active. I then saw queen b3. Maybe he can play something silly like rook c4. But my idea here is I'm pinning the queen, basically forcing them off. And if he ever takes and takes, I thought this double pawn was great because I'm immediately opening on up to the a7 pawn, and I have this this skewer with bishop b4. So I did see this, so that's why I wanted to trade the queens off. But at least that's what I calculated, for the record. And because I did think this was stronger. The reason why Andrew traded, for the record, is that he thought that if he did something else, like again, let's say he plays rook c5. I don't know if that was the move he was thinking about playing. He actually responded. Let's see, this is move 18. He didn't think at this move. He spent only a minute. I think he should have spent longer here, because I think once I can kill off the queens, I think the game becomes very simple and easy. He told me that he was worried about me snapping off another pawn. And, I know according to the computer it's good for me to take this pawn, but to be completely honest, and maybe I'm solid enough and defensive, but I thought that he could then finally... Well, I guess he could never really play bishop c6, because I would just take the bishop, I'd snap it off. But in this spot, I told him I thought that he should actually sacrifice another pawn, because he's already down 2. The difference between 2 and 3 is kind of irrelevant. This is something actually good from, Danya. Something that he makes a point of in his videos. Basically, it's my friend Andreas. He's Swedish. I was going to check this. 43 minutes. Okay, cool. This video will definitely be less than an hour. Is that the first pawn you win is a very big deal. Going from equal to up a pawn, a lot of endgames, it's a very big deal. Going from 1 to 2 is a pretty big deal, because it means a lot of drawn endgames with 1 pawn are not with 2, and it means that if something was close, with 2 you're comfortably winning. However, going from 2 pawns to 3 is kind of irrelevant, because almost every endgame that's winning with 2 is obviously winning with 3, and not winning with 2 somehow, it's very rare that last pawn changes anything. So I think rather than pawn hunting, I told him I wouldn't have even grabbed the pawn. I think he should have gone for full activity and just gone for full YOLO mode. Anyway, that's a minor digression. We'll see what the computer says. But instead, he trades. I obviously take back, immediately. And he then plays knight c6. And I think at this point, he's making things a little too easy for me because I thought this was very straightforward. I play bishop c3. It's worth noting, trading here would be wrong because now he lands his bishop very, very powerfully on c6. And hopefully you guys can see he's what is it, X-ray? No, X-ray would be through. He's crisscrossing me, where he's threatening to go bishop takes knight, pawn takes, rook takes, or just bishop takes b2. And black actually wins a pawn back here. And I think black's drawing chances with the double bishops, only down a pawn, is very high here. I think if we got to this position, let's say I block or whatever, he trades, I trade, he trades, I trade, he takes. Actually, he would probably not take that one. He probably would take this one. I think that Barber could draw this one against me. Okay, it's still +1. It's still +1 here, but I think that this is it's a rook pawn endgame where I'm up a pawn, but it's not the how many pawns am I up? I'm up only one pawn, and he's got more activity. I think that this is very drawable, for the record, very drawable. Anyway, instead I play bishop c3. He now trades knight takes. I go bishop takes because I want to trade these pieces off and I want the dominant knight on d4. It's worth pointing out that's a dark square. It would be a dark square against a light square bishop, so it would be forever unmovable, and he had no pawns to attack it. So I think that would be the best piece in the game. And he plays rook c2. And I saw this. This is a little bout of counterplay. At this point, Barber is down below 30 minutes. For some reason, I didn't write down. He spent 15 minutes on the next 3 moves, and I just didn't write down his time usage here. But I still have 45 minutes, and I spend, it looks like, 5 minutes calculating. The reason I'm calculating is I'm considering playing bishop takes. I do play bishop takes here, but I basically was considering bishop takes. I'm considering keeping the pieces on, playing knight e5. I quickly eliminated this because I saw when we could trade the same square colors, I wanted to avoid getting a dark square bishop against a light square bishop, and I thought if I played knight e5, he could actually trade into this. And this is the dream setup, because if you're ever down 2 pawns, but you find a way to basically liquidate the rooks, most of these endgames are actually drawn, the opposite colored bishops. So I saw that and I was like, yeah, there's no fucking way I want to go into that. I then also saw, do I play b3 first? And I said, no, why would I want to do that? Yeah, and so eventually I played the right move. I take, of course, he takes back with the king. And I spend another few minutes in this position. I kid you not, I was calculating b4 or b3. I know this sounds kind of insane, but I knew I was going to have my knight on d4, and I thought on d4 I'm protecting b3, which I liked. But I also didn't like that it was a light square, and that he could play bishop e6, attacking it, basically getting another, a rook onto it as well. So I thought that maybe I should play b4 with the idea of knight d4, and then I'd be able to push b5, and over here I played a4. So I know this is crazy, what I was thinking, and eventually I just played b3. Why did it win out over b4? I don't know, but I basically, just so you guys can see what I mean, if we get a situation like this, he doubles the rooks, I then play d4, attacking. If he gets behind it, well, obviously I can't push here, I would play a3 and maybe on light squares, yeah, I don't know. This is one line that I kind of calculated or so, and I calculated that to be good for me. It's worth noting as well that in these positions, sorry, not this position, whatever. I'm just going to show you how what ended up coming up, what we're playing. Andrew plays Andrew Dowd plays rook fc8, which I wasn't sure if that was accurate because this lets me jump my knight, and I thought with his rook here, he's actually lasering down, and I actually was a little bit afraid of bishop c5 before I play knight d4. So you guys can tell this move here, he's attacking my rook. But I actually thought that maybe I would be able to play knight d4. I'm obviously forking him. And the idea is here, if he takes my rook, I take his rook. These trades are really good for me. He never can attack the f-pawn anymore. he'd have to like, I don't know, go back, and then I basically redevelop to d4. So I kind of was calculating all those. I thought if we trade a rook, that's good for me. It's worth noting that this knight is doing such a beastly job protecting the second. This rook is protecting the first. That I, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, whatever. He plays rook fc8. I nail my knight on d4 with tempo. It seems good. He plays rook d2. He's trying to get the double-double, toil and trouble. But this knight, again, is just such a beast. In this position, I now look at the position. I'm like, okay, eventually I want to play a4 so that I can prevent him ever playing bishop c5, because then I'm always safe with my my rook on f1. That also frees me up to then play my other rook onto the c file, because right now it's defending the a pawn. I don't want to sack the a pawn. And I said the only thing that's missing from this position is Luft. And I do let me take a look. 24, I play a couple minutes in this position, 2 minutes only. And I consider h4 or h3. I play h3. I didn't like h3 because it's on a light square, and I thought that maybe it's a target wildly at some points. I want to be able to have an escape. Whereas I thought h4 is on a dark square, and that could be good. But then I thought in some lines, if I want to support it, like if he's able to attack it some way, and I play g3, then all of a sudden maybe he gets into h3. I didn't know. I really had no idea. All I knew is if we got an endgame with these 4 against 2, it's very easy for me to win, and it doesn't matter to me if it's on h3 or h4. So, whatever. I put it on h3. Again, those kind of decisions, if I don't see something kind of obvious or something that triggers why it might be better, I just default with a more solid move. Andrew moves his king in, king f6. By the way, he's down below 15 minutes at this point. So again, as I mentioned, last few moves he spent about 15 minutes. I complete my plan of a4. It's worth noting that this chain is defended by my bishop. This frees my rook. I'm going to try to get it in to the game. After a4, Andrew plays bishop c7. It was, bishop c6. Error on my notes. I wrote bishop c7, but that's not possible, of course. I obviously don't want to trade. I play rook ac1. My idea is, by the way, he resigns in this position with less than 8 minutes to go. Maybe premature, but he said the game felt very hopeless here. I appreciate him resigning. After the game, Shea Winter, who's one of the best players in the club, if not the best. He's a nice guy. I've talked to him a few times because he kept actually walking to our board. He's like, man, you guys played a really interesting one, a really, really cool one. And we both were like, hey, that's awesome. If a player, he's very strong. We're like, oh, if he thinks that our game is great, then we did a good job. And he's like, oh, you resigned too early. And I was like, I would have played that out against a Grandmaster. And I'm like, you're going to lose this against a Grandmaster 100% of the time. But anyway, Andrew resigned here. The reason why is almost kind of whatever he does, he can't really put pressure on f2. It's worth noting that he can't even bring the king in because I have these forks. This is something we commented on. Knight f3, if he takes my knight, I take his rook. If he doesn't take my knight, I take this rook. So I saw all those tactics, and my plan was going to be a simple one. I was going to go rook c3, again, further supporting my b-pawn, and then rook fc1, and then in that position, I'm happy to trade where I win another pawn, and that would be very, very easy for me to win. But in this position, again, Andrew does not make me prove it. I win the game. I'm pretty happy because, that game that I butchered last week, between this result and the draw against Ben, that probably should have been a win, I've barely lost rating for the month, so I don't feel like that bad. Next week, if I'm able to win, I'll actually even be in the green, so I feel good about it. So, Andrew, thank you for the game. I got my revenge on the Barbs. I'm going to just do a review, because I think, honestly, I think that this was a well-played game. I think maybe I'm fully healthy. I was thinking pretty well. I like the ideas. I like it. 94.6 is a strong game. And of course, not of course, but they score this move of Brilliant, which is so cool. It means I'm going to be able to add this to my Brilliant tab. I hadn't had Brilliant in a little while. All right, that's about everything. It's been 53 minutes. Again, pretty happy about the accuracy. Looks like a lot of great moves. Pretty cool. Again, was Andrew's... was his resignation here premature? Maybe, but it is like a plus 3.3. I mean, the computer's basically saying he's got to play like king e7, just try to get over to this side. Yeah, I don't know. It looks pretty bad. It looks pretty bleak, at least. Furthermore, I had more than 30 minutes on Andrew at this point, but yeah, we'll see how much the engine can handle. This is just the opening, the old variation of the QGA. I'm just seeing on the computer now if I missed anything. They don't love Queen B3, but it is one of the candidate moves. I'm actually kind of curious if we look at master games. Yeah, see, most just play E takes, but I knew that there were other options there. Queen B3 has been played in 1% of games, so... But Knight F3 is the move I like. Yeah, if I remember my notes, yeah, it looks like Knight F3 is just as good as E takes, but it's trickier and sneaky. And it's the move I wanted to play. It's the move I should have played, just so you guys can see playing this first. This is where all the tactics come in. Because it requires, it would have required Andrew to play very accurately. In fact, he has to play bishop b4 check to start getting his pieces out. Everything else, and he's already kind of slipping pretty hard. Now let's go back to the analysis, because that's always interesting. After Queen b3, and you guys can see here, I assume, Queen e7 is the move that it's parity, and he played Queen d7, which is like half a pawn worse. And it's funny how it's such a big difference, and for the life of me, I kid you not, I had no idea. And of course, he could also play Queen f6, which is basically similar to what he played. I had no idea what was the right move. I just knew that this move was wrong, and this move, and bishop e6 was wrong, and I was ready to jump on those moves. Anyway, when he plays Queen d7, they like my move, Knight f3. He does play the best move here. It's crazy it's the best move. And what's funny is apparently the pawn takes is correct. I was worried if he goes pawn takes. If I go pawn takes and now he plays Knight a5. Oh, that's sneaky. Because now I'm actually able to maintain the bishop because I actually get this check on e3. Most likely would have, well, not most likely, 100% because everything else is just losing. We trade queens here. Well, actually, trading queens is wrong because I want to force him to trade so I can get my bishop in the game. Right. So this allows me to maintain my light square bishop, and his knight would be on the rib. So actually, I totally get this, and that makes a lot of sense. All right. Whereas they score my move, knight takes an inaccuracy, because apparently after knight a5, which is what he played, I found the brilliant. But apparently, I mean, this blows my mind. Okay, on the phone that I went over with Barber after the game, it had white plus 0.2, and now at this position it has black minus 0.2, which is, again, crazy. Is the computer sure about this? He goes queen takes. I play queen check. I thought I was much better. Apparently c6. I did think c6 may have been the move, but I'm still not sure why this is fine for black. He goes bd7. I go queen takes. And then the computer says, after... Apparently c6 needs to be played anyway. Not sure why. Or bishop d6. Instead he plays... Oh, okay. And as soon as he starts playing queen c4... And I thought this was clever, because it's an attacking move. But, okay, the computer loves my plan. They love these checks. Love the checks. And what's funny is okay, you know what, guys? Look at me. I feel pretty good. Apparently queen f7 is the best move. He could have blocked there and I would have just had a solid +1. But the move that I thought that he was going to play and should have played, king d8, is a very reasonable option. And it's kind of what I was shooting for. What he chose with g6 was definitely a mistake. There's no question that this opened up way too many things for his for me. And I'm glad I jumped all over it. Knight e7. They say knight d2. I mean, this seemed obvious to me, attacking the queen. He retreats it. They want me to take the pawn. I do. Looks like I played pretty well. So apparently castles is better in this position. I played the knight first, but again, I don't know why. Why castles is better than the knight here. I thought that he could never make use of this diagonal. My queen's taken away, and I'm ready to jump with my bishop. So I don't understand. Apparently, because if I play... I mean, he's got this rook move. I don't know. Whatever. All right, this still seems fine to me. Knight here. He develops bishop. Really, it's not the best move. I thought that bishop g7 was the best move. They think knight f5 immediately. Okay, whatever. Bishop g7. How are we doing on this post-cap? We're at an hour. I said this was going to be about an hour. I'm just very quickly going over the computer for those of you interested at home. For me as well. By the way, it's hot. It's like it was north of 70 today. It was muggy. It was also raining when I came home. I haven't put my air conditioners in yet because I try to wait till May. But oh my god, another day like today, and I will. I hope it will drop temperatures again. I like when it's cold. The chess club again was like 10 degrees hotter than it should have been. Like guys, you gotta give me a break. It's too hot. It's so heiß. So heiß. All right, that's German for too hot. All right, castles is a great move. Thank you, computer. He castles, which is a mistake. And yeah, this is the spot. So you guys can see, like on the computer, that e4 wins the game outright because I win a piece. My move is second best. It's still pretty good. I'm obviously doing very well. My idea was pretty obvious. Game would have ended, whatever. He attacks me, and yeah, I mean, there were only two moves in this position, and it looks like, to be honest, apparently actually queen g3 is just as good. I mean, they both scored at like 2.15, 2.15. But I did spend a lot of time on this move. Out of curiosity, because if I play this one, knight f5 is the best move. But I guess the computer says that after like trade and then bishop takes, this is still just totally fine for me. They're actually even suggesting bishop b4, to control the f8 square, so he never even has a sack opportunity. I probably would have played bishop c3, to be completely honest. Alright, well, whatever. None of that happened. I just did quite play to this side. And yeah, I mean, if you guys can see in this spot, I thought rook, this move is not even a move, rook c5. But I thought that he needed to keep the queens on. So I wasn't sure how, but I thought he needed to. Bishop g4. Yeah, I mean, all of these moves allow me to trade queens. I thought once that happens, it's just simple mode. So maybe he was forced. Maybe he did have to trade, in which case I obviously like my move even more. He then attacks. I go to c3. It's a great. Okay, I got look at this, guys. I got a brilliant. I got a lot of greats. Look, this is all the more reason to me to go back to d4 c4 because like without being too self-congratulatory, I just am a lot more accurate in these lines. I also really like the Queen's Gambit accepted. You just don't see it very often. Like this is the Queen's Gambit accepted my favorite opening as white? It might be. It's up there. Like I really like it. And next time if I go back to these openings, I'll obviously have looked at the theory and I'll know it. It does seem as though I mistook the move ordering, but I still ended up with obviously a very, very nice position. All right, once we play these moves out, we're going to finish strong. The computer is definitely struggling. I mean, at this point, it doesn't really matter, but it looks like I converted pretty well. So bishop takes. He does play rook c2. It is the best move. Okay, so computer, my move is best. Bishop takes, but also b3. Okay, I swear, I thought for a few minutes about which the order is, and of course, this is the type of position where the computer's like, yeah, it doesn't matter. The exact same move. But I thought about it for a while. I just wanted to be accurate, He takes. Now I play b3, best move, cool. And he plays the rook over. I have a mega knight. I think it's just hot, so I think that's why my computer is struggling. All right, well, I'm going to call the video. I'm very, very happy with myself. Andrew, again, thank you for the game. Looks like I'm hopefully back to winning ways. Given I got 2 whites to start, week 1, week 2, very unusual. I will 100% be playing black next week. At the moment, I looked ahead. Here, I will show you guys the April Swiss. I mean, this is kind of funny. At the moment, and again, everything is often going to change, but they have me matched against Jamie. Now, first off, I've never played as Jamie when I'm black, which is great. So that'll be wonderful. But also number 2, I bet it'll be swapped. Jamie is my most common opponent, so. Yeah, I don't know if you guys remember what happened last time we played. It was kind of a wild one, so we'll see what goes down there. I played Tyler in 2 games of Blitz before today. Tyler's been losing a lot. It's a shame. I pretty much like everyone at the chess club, so I don't even want to single anyone out for being like I like them in particular or not. It's worth noting Matthew won again. He's taking a bye. Maybe he'll win this tournament. I don't know. I don't even remember last time he's lost. Rook d2 is good. They like h3. Move the king in. This is the best move. It looks like we played the endgame pretty well. I will say Andrew did know that bishop c6 was like not accurate, not the best move, but it's also it does feel pretty bad. All of his moves are basically +3 for me. Up 2 pawns, but positionally the knight is so much better than the bishop. So again, conceptually makes sense to me that I could be basically like down a pawn in this position. It would still be kind of equal, but I'm up 2 pawns, which means it's obviously completely over. Rook c3 or d3 apparently are the moves. I think you want to apply pressure to the b pawn. Makes sense. All right, and then when Andrew resigned, this was the best move. It's almost +3.5. So okay. Hope you all enjoyed that one. I'm not playing club chess on Thursday because I'm running a game on Thursday, but I will be playing club chess the next week. So definitely check that out if you want. All right, have a good one. Peace.